Sky Black. That shouldn't be too much of a surprise. He's against Joe Cammerino on Bant Megamorph. Jones is actually down a game as we bring you into the match. This game, however, pretty interesting. So we have Jones on 6 life with the Mantis Rider in play, 7 lands in play. Onto Cammerino's side, he has no board, 15 life, but you notice in the graveyard there's a Death Mist Raptor hanging out. Both players with a lot of cards in hand. Looks like Jones sitting on a dig and a disdainful stroke. We'll see whether or not Cammerino can re-establish board presence before Mantis Rider chips him to death. And the Bant Megamorph deck, always scary in the sense that you always feel like they're one Den Protector away from just having an army.
Yep, bringing everything back. And the deck plays with enough cheap spells that it has extremely good Den Protector turns. A Den Protector unmorph, gets stuff back, and also casts the spell for profit that I just got back.
Well, 6 mana from Joe is going to try to be Hangerback Walker. And because he paid that much for it, it's going to get caught with a disdainful stroke. Maybe a win going both ways, though. Hangerback, not fantastic on this board for Joe.
No, and Jones is down to just 2 lands in hand, I believe. So Cammerino definitely has a window here to resolve something big.
And well, 2 lands and a Jace, so Jace will be added to the board for Kevin. That one not good this turn, but if it survives until next turn, that could sew it up. There's a Dig Through Time in Kevin's graveyard waiting to get flashed back. Kevin plays a fetch land and passes Cammerino down to 11. Nice there. If you haven't seen that one, is still a blue card. It's one of the San Diego Comic-Con Jaces.
Very clear. Easy to identify. Easy to read.
I have played a tournament with those before. They're super neat, but I will say from the playability aspect, sometimes they're kind of weird to look at on the board.
Yep.
All right, Joe plays a Morph face down. If it's a Den Protector, it's going to be great. If it's a Death Mist, it'll be okay still too.
Definitely prioritizing form over function.
See it over there on the left. Also got a different artwork for the card. We go to the play. So the play was the Morph from Joe and a pass. So Kevin does get to untap with Jace. Means it can get a Dig Through Time. Kevin's draws for the turn. He'll loot. Has at least 2 lands. One of them a Mystic Monastery. Looks like the last card is a Tassiger. So he'll discard the Monastery, flip the Jace. A lot of pressure on the cards in his graveyard, actually.
That card, clearly, Jace Telepath Unbound. That black little spot there on the table.
Well, see, there's those tiny blue strokes on it. So then it's obviously a blue card.
It's obviously a blue card.
And a Planeswalker. It's,
Couldn't be more clear.
Yeah, but I can't think of a way to do it. Well, Jace will give something flashback. It's going to be Dig Through Time. Kevin, if he's going to get through this Morph and the Death Mist Raptor that comes with it, he's going to need more than 1 card to do so. He'll crack a fetch land, go down to 4, needs a lot of graveyard fodder here. With the Dig Through Time, he has 8 additional cards in the graveyard. So right now, were he to fully delve his Tassiger and his Dig Through Time, they're asking, I guess, for 11 cards of delve. So to play both of those, he'll need 6 mana.
Mm-hmm. Easy.
I mean, possible. We'll see how much he wants to delve. Looks like it might just be the full amount here. And it is. Here's 6 cards, leaves 2 in the yard.
Yeah, I don't think Jones is necessarily committed to casting Tassiger. He could just Dig Through Time into the goods here and use that with his mana instead. So wants to leave up as much mana as possible.
Yeah, if he digs into 2 kill spells, those kill spells will fuel the Tassiger later. Looks like Silumgar's Command among the things he's seen. So he has Crackling Doom, another Dig Through Time, Silumgar's Command, Soulfire Grandmaster, Land. Now gets to pick what he wants to keep. And it looks like last card is a Jace. So Jace, Dig, Soulfire, Command, Crackling Doom, 2 lands. Silumgar's Command doesn't seem horrible here. So it's very powerful.
I mean, it is a lot of his mana. That's the issue with it right now. He could take something like Soulfire Grandmaster and Dig and try to fire up again next turn. He can also take something like Slumgar's Command X, either Dig Through Time or even something like Crackling Doom.
Yeah, what about something like Soulfire Crackling Doom? Because then he starts getting life gain off his Crackling Doom and maybe doesn't have to answer everything immediately.
Yeah, that is also an option. I don't know, there's a lot of different routes you can take here.
Well, it looks, we'll see what he goes for here. Silumgar's Command was taken. Let's see what the second card was. It was another copy of Jace. So for Jace Command. And here's going to be the Jace.
Yeah, I suppose the logic here is Jones, if he really wants the Slumgar's Command, he's got 2 mana left over. So the question is, does he want to have Soulfire Grandmaster or Jace as the thing he's doing with his other 2 mana?
I was wondering if you're going to see the full set of Comic-Con Planeswalkers. No, just the first Jace he cast.
Yeah. You rarely need the second one. If you need 4 total copies of Jace, because that's how many are in your deck. But you really only need 2 of the San Diego Comic-Con ones, because you never have more than the 2 copies.
The third one.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, Mantis Rider will get to hit in again. That'll put Joe down to 8. And now we really do get to see if this is a Den Protector or a Death Mist Raptor. Under the morph. He's going to unmorph it. It looks like it's a Death Mist. So here's Death Mist. This one will be a 4/4. It'll bring along a 3/3 friend. Let's see if it's face up or down. Decision for Joe here, really.
Well, with Kevin at 4, I mean, they're both lethal if he sets it at a 4/4. But that's a lot of time.
All right, so it's back in play. Now there's a window for Silumgar's Command. And we'll see from Kevin, it's going to be bounce the 4/4, kill the 3/3.
Yeah, Jones just trying to turn this into a tempo game here with the Mantis Rider unchecked.
He only needs a few attacks off that Mantis Rider. So Joe with no board here, but Kevin is tapped down. What damage can Joe do? He can, of course, if he wants to spend his whole turn again, he can repeat last turn's play of face down Death Mist, flip it up.
But even that's just not winning the race on the table.
Well, here's Death Mist face down. He may not have another play. Well, he can do the same play, but add a Warden or the first tree, and that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's good just for Cammerino to have something else to do with his mana. Just get another threat on the table.
Yeah, now as a 3/3, it's not going to be lethal because Kevin's at 4. But it will still be added pressure. We go back over to Kevin Jones. Just needs to find a couple more hits of that Mantis Rider. Maybe supplement it with a Crackling Doom. That would add to shave another turn off the clock.
Yeah, Crackling Doom's pretty much perfect here.
Yeah, it looks like Crackling Doom and Tasigur, the 2 cards in Kevin's hand. So we start with the Mantis Rider swing. I think Kevin's committed to the Crackling Doom, but he has to decide what sequencing he wants to do with things like Jace activations, Jace loots. So Mantis Rider will hit Joe down to 5. Jace will shrink the morph until next turn. Now he's going to go ahead and looks like flip the 0/2 into another Planeswalker. And he may just end up Crackling Dooming away Joe's entire board.
Yeah, this is not good sequencing. He's got only 3 cards in the graveyard right now. If you wanted to do this, what he could have done here is cast the Crackling Doom. That's card
Then
number 4.
loot.
Then he can plus with the old Jace. Loot. Now his fresh Jace can flash something back or plus again if that's what he wants to do, whatever. But now the sequencing is a little messed up.
Yeah, and depending on how he declared, I don't think he declared the loot yet. So we're going back. I think notice that he needs to play the Crackling Doom first. And I think he's going to do it the right way now.
Unless the thing is, he can't cut off Cammerino from choosing what creature he sacrifices the Crackling Doom, because if he shrinks the morph, Cammerino can just unmorph it. Now it's 1 power, and he still chooses whatever he wants to do. So I think that Jones should have just, first order of business this turn, just cast Crackling Doom, see what Cammerino's response is, and take the game from there.
Because he's shrunk the morph, this is tougher for Kevin.
Yeah. there's spots where you use Jace to shrink the largest thing in play because you actually want to kill the second largest thing in play with Crackling Doom. But he doesn't have that agency over this decision from Cammerino's side because Cammerino can simply unmorph. Now they're both 1 power, and he chooses whatever he wants to sacrifice. I guess at that point he has to get back the Death Mist Raptor and sacrifice that one. So
it's Crackling Doom was hit, and Cammerino let it resolve. So it takes care of Warden of the first tree. Remember that morph is a 0-2 because of Jace. So Cammerino drops to 6. Here's the loot from Kevin. He draws Ojutai's command off the loot. That's an interesting one. May want to discard that Tasigur instead. Or keep Beck's a blocker. So it's a close call.
I think that I would prefer Ojutai's command, discard Ojutai's command, flashback Crackling Doom, cast Tasigur, Seiko.
And he is going to agree with that line. Ojutai's command's in the yard. Jace flips into the Planeswalker.
Because the problem with the other line of play, sitting on Ojutai's command, is it's pretty risky if Cammerino draws a way to kill your Mantis Rider. Then you have to go gain 4, draw a card, and you're potentially facing lethal the next turn. So I think the Tasigur is just a little bit safer because you have 2 blockers back.
All right, well, Jace is at 5, so he can flash back something this turn. You look at his yard, his options are Ojutai's command, Crackling Doom, and Silumgar's command. He knows that, or not knows, but he really suspects that morph in play to be a Death Mist Raptor. Yeah. He did bounce one last turn.
Yeah, that's the scenario Jones is playing around here.
So Jace will give flashback, looks like, to Crackling Doom. But the issue here is that Kevin is going to have to trade Tasigur away. So if you look at how this plays out, he's going to Crackling Doom Joe again. Joe unmorphs Death Mist Raptor. Now it's a 4/4. I believe he'll get this Death Mist Raptor back face down, not up. Oh, wow, and he got it back face up. That's huge, though. Had he got it face down, it would be a 4-power attacker next turn. Oh, no, wait. He has to sack. No, it doesn't matter because that's not a 4/4 Raptor in play. It's still a 2/4 from the earlier Jace. Joe sacrifices the Raptor. He gets back anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And here's Tasigur as the last card.
Right, and now Jones is just hoping to block with Tasigur and win with Mantis Rider next turn.
Joe down to 1. Can he find a way out here? He can trade the Death Mist with the Tasigur. But that still doesn't save him from the attack next turn from Mantis Rider. And that will not do it. So Kevin Jones evens it up at 1 game apiece now with 6 minutes remaining. They're going to have to really rush if they finish that 3rd game.
Yeah, I mean, both of these decks are capable of winning inside of the allotted time here, but it is going to be a challenge. And looks like Kevin is going to be stepping away from the table momentarily, but players get an extension in those scenarios.
Yeah, so that it turns out the Kevin able to race there with Mantis Rider. Not many answers in the air for Bant Megamorph. Generally, they try to be more, their counter to Mantis Rider is to be aggressive, but a good tempo game plan from Kevin. Mantis Rider just plus some Crackling Dooms, a Silumgar's command just to bounce. Did seem to be enough to get by these recurring Death Mist Raptors.
Well, Bant Megamorph and the green-white Megamorph package is really good at brawling on the ground, especially with looping Death Mist Raptors. If you're able to slow the game down at all, and you have enough morphs to chain together, that's going to wear down most decks that are attacking on the ground. So the way that decks like Jeskai Black try to approach the problem is you have a lot of flyers and you have creatures with powerful activated abilities like Jace Friends Prodigy, like Soulfire Grandmaster, so you're not really trying to do too much on the ground. Dragon Master Outcast is another part of this puzzle. So the threats in the Jeskai Black deck are definitely selected with this green-white Megamorph package in mind, because just having random creatures on the ground like Seeker of the Way, they just don't line up the right way in this kind of matchup. So that's why you see these threats. Tasigur, the Golden Fang, another very good example. Large enough where it blocks a lot of stuff on defense. It's a good defensive threat against Den Protector. And if the game slows down, the activated power on that card comes up as well. So the threat list here, it's no accident. This is trying to fight this kind of package of creatures.
Yeah, but still though, Mantis Rider feels like the all-star, right? Because he can clog up the ground for a while, but without a card like Mantis Rider, sometimes that's all the Jeskai deck's doing. You know, it's not actually dealing damage. In that case, something like Looping Death Mists can actually get by it.
Yeah, the thing is, why Mantis Rider is important is you get some of these draws that are very removal heavy and counterspell heavy, and you aren't guaranteed to win those games against decks like Green White Megamorph because they can hang with you in long games. They have Den Protector and Death Mist Raptor. That gives them a lot of staying power against a deck that's just playing a lot of removal spells. So you do need to shorten the length of the game. It's very rare for you to play Mantis Rider and then attack 7 times and win the game, but you can get in some shots, and when that's backed up by a couple good tempo plays, that could be enough to win the game.
All right, so 6 minutes, 5:40 remaining as these players go to sideboard. We talked about that. Does that change the equation for either players as far as how they board, or at least what kind of hands they're willing to keep?
I don't think so. I think that 5 minutes, 4 minutes, that's enough time to play a regular game of Magic. You do have to speed up, though, a little bit, especially on Jones' side of the table. I mean, there's a lot of methodicalness of the way that he untaps his lands and pauses in the upkeep and resolves certain effects that, you know, he has his little idiosyncrasies, and a lot of them drain seconds off the clock. So that more than anything is what Jones has to be mindful of. Everyone has their habits when they're at the table, and usually it's fine because there's enough time on the clock. But when the clock starts winding down, you need to be aware of that and be able to speed up your pace of play. It'll be interesting to see if Jones can calibrate accordingly.
Yeah. So even if he doesn't have a Mantis Rider, it'll be really hard for him. It seems like it will be hard for him to win quickly without some sort of really a Mantis Rider start.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you're hoping for. But he can, I think that 4 or 5 minutes, if 2 players are playing fast, is enough to play several turns of Magic and does not necessarily have to involve Mantis Rider for him to win.
All right, well, we'll see if they pull that off. Joe Cammerino starts off on Warden of the first tree. It's an aggressive start from him. Polluted Delta from Jones does have a Fiery Impulse in his hand. Won't be able to do that until turn 2.
So this is a spot where I'm talking about Jones, I think, needs to be cracking his fetch land right now. This is an opportunity for you to be shortcutting a little bit. And he's going to basically, I assume Cammerino's going to take his turn. Now Jones is doing it. This is a spot where, you had to recognize the clock and speed some things up. I was surprised that Jones didn't actually just crack the fetch land straight away and say, it's your turn.
Yeah, on Cammerino's side, he makes the Warden into a 3/3 and attacks. Jones is now down to 16. That will get it out of range of the Fiery Impulse that was in Kevin's hand. So back on Kevin's side, we'll see if he can deal... We can see if if Kevin can deal with the Warden without taking too much damage off it. Turn 2, though, Kevin will have a Jace Vryn's Prodigy. So we'll start that out as he fetches here for an island. Off the Polluted Delta, down to 15, and he'll pass the turn back to Joe. Warden is at level 1. That means it is a 3/3. After 0-2 on Kevin's side will be powerful, but Kevin's dealt 2 to himself. He'll be down to 15. He's looking to be at 12. That's a lot of damage from this Warden.
Yeah, and another problem here is Jones is kind of settling into what feels like a longer game if he doesn't have Mantis Rider on the 3rd turn, and that's going to make it very challenging to win the game in time.
Yeah, it won't be a Jace. Silk Wrap takes care of Jace Vryn's Prodigy. Warden swings in. Kevin down to 12. Green up for Cammerino, and he passes back to Jones. Can he replace it? Just a tapped Prairie Stream and a go from Kevin. More damage perhaps on the way. Here's a swing. Kevin down to 9. This is what Joe needed in a game 3. He's got Kevin to single digits on the 4th turn here. Plays a face down morph. Does he have land 4? He does not, and he passes back.
I'm surprised that Jones did not take that opportunity to use Fiery Impulse. Because he could have gone Fiery Impulse, untap Mantis Rider, unless he wants to spend his turn playing Soulfire Grandmaster
and then Fiery Impulse for the 2 life, maybe?
Maybe.
But I know what you mean. That certainly is a control game, although it may be correct, this is slower. And he will make that play. It looks like he was willing to sacrifice the tempo of Mantis Rider there to get the 2 points of life gain. So Soulfire Grandmaster's played, Fiery Impulse is played, and now Kevin gains 2 to go up to 11 thanks to Soulfire's ability. As we go back over to Joe. Minute 50 remaining before they go to turns. Land was drawn for Joe. It's Wooded Foothills. He'll crack down to 18. And Joe still wanting to race, but he is up against a life linker on the other side of the board, so he'll have to be careful. He doesn't want to take too many hits off Soulfire Grandmaster.
And his deck is not flush with removal spells. He has some Silk Wraps, he has some Dromoka's Commands. A couple copies of Stasis Snare in his main deck as well.
Well, here's the swing. Kevin will likely go to 8. We'll see if the follow-up is maybe something like a Gideon here, which would be excellent for Joe. Looks like it may just be Hangerback Walker on 2. Oh, it's going to be Hangerback Walker on 1. Leaving up green, white. He'll pass the turn. Certainly seems to be representing a Dromoka's command.
Though that's a weird spot to be representing Dromoka's command, because wouldn't you just cast it while the shields are down? I wouldn't want to get into some sort of response.
Yeah,
here.
I agree. Have Warden fight the Soulfire, put a counter on my Hangerback.
Yeah.
Life as normal. Joe down to 16. Kevin gains 2 again, goes up to 10. 30 seconds remain. And he does have Negate in his hand, but yeah, he doesn't have blue. Not sure what he's representing. He does have Valorous Stance out of the board. Perhaps that's what he's going toward. We go back over to Kevin's side. Deciding between another Soulfire and a Jace. It's going to be Jace. And passes back to Joe's turn. Back over to Joe. 1-1 Hangerback, 3-3 Warden. Draws land 5, it's Prairie Stream. Now he has blue, now Negates live. More importantly, now that Wingmate Rock in his hand is live. That's really big here.
Yep.
And this is going to be turn 0. Here comes Warden of the First Tree in for 3. Kevin's going to go down to 7. And Joe's going to get 2 more turns, but that may be all he needs thanks to Wingmate Rock.
Well, Jones is sitting on Radiant Flames, and Radiant Flames plus Soulfire Grandmaster is a whole lot of life. So that still might be able to get a draw that way.
Yeah, absolutely. There are 6 creatures in place. That gains 18 for Kevin. That should be draw in hand for him. And if Kevin wants to go for the line, he needs to do it now, because if Dromoka's command happens, then he can prevent some of the damage, and then the life gain's smaller.
Yeah, or negate.
Yeah, and we do know there's a negate in Joe's hand. Here comes Soulfire Grandmaster in for 2.
Wow, this is a really surprising play here, because if Cammerino blocks with the Penguin token, yes, Jones picks up 2, but then this Radiant Flames is no longer...
Yeah, that's a huge... If Joe blocks here, I mean, he'll get the 5th card in the graveyard to flip the Jace, but that... Maybe do you think he's still playing for the win and not the draw?
I can't imagine how Jones is playing for the win at this point. He has to just be playing for the draw. I actually thought last start, instead of playing Jace, he was going to play a 2nd copy of Soulfire Grandmaster to ensure that he would get Soulfire Grandmaster plus Radiant Flames.
Yeah. Well, here's the loot. He draws Crackling Doom.
And this is kind of the one window. We know that this is kind of the one window, because Cammerino untaps with Negate next turn, and then it becomes very complicated for Jones to resolve this.
And if it doesn't happen this turn, I think Cammerino gets the game.
Yeah. That attack from Jones was very risky.
It paid off. Cammerino didn't block. It looks like you see Kevin loading up that Radiant Flames, and then now making sure that's what he wants to do. But this is turn 1 of extra turns. You see up at the top, we have our turn counter.
I mean, this is gain 18.
Yeah, he's up to 27. There's no way Joe deals enough damage. And that's going to be the play. Here's Radiant Flames. Wow, and if Joe Cammerino had blocked the Soulfire Grandmaster,
yeah,
Kevin would have he'd have the game. But gain 18 from Kevin puts him to 27. That should be safe. There's 7 power rather in play for Joe. He has 2 attacks as we're on turn 2. I'm trying to think if he had another Wingmate Rock and then a Gideon Emblem, if that would be enough. I don't even believe so. Cammerino goes up to 17 on this attack, puts Kevin down to 20. And he'll pass. There's virtually no threat of him lethaling Kevin on turn 4.
Yeah.
Even less threat of Kevin being able to win. I believe we're headed toward a draw. We'll see if either player can find a way to get... Well, rather, if Joe can find a way to end the game. Kevin certainly isn't. Here's Dig. Joe will negate. Pass back here. Turn 4 for Joe has 7 more damage in the air. There's a Gideon. Looks like a pair of Gideons. Last turn could have Gideon emblemed. That still doesn't make the difference, though. Here's a Gideon. Cammerino definitely ahead on the board, but not going to be able to close it out. We're on turn 4, not 3 right now. Just of note. So this is the last attack for Joe.
Yeah, math looks a little bit different if Cammerino gets one more turn, but he does not.
Yeah, if this was turn 3, Cammerino very well may be able to get it. But you see, there we go. It is actually turn 4. Kevin Jones is on turn 5. He's at 13, but that's not 0. And that is going to be the end of the match. So appears we are headed toward a draw at the moment. So both players are this early in the tournament. A draw certainly not bad. With 591 players, 6-2-1, almost certain to make day 2. So both players picking up a draw early. I don't think how they wanted to come off the buys, but shouldn't be a death knell for either of them.
Yeah, and you know, it's important, especially with the way the format is now. The fetch lands and battle lands, they're time consuming even if you're playing efficiently. They're also pretty complicated. So they're